welcome back to Design Bundles YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Crystal, and today we are going to be etching on Dollar Tree wine glasses. So this is from the Dollar Tree, only $1, and I've got some Armor Etch here. So what you're going to need to successfully etch these glasses is some Armor Etch. Now we have some of this linked down below, and it does not take very much. And what's really cool is when you're done, you can actually scrape that and put it right back in here before you rinse it off. So you want to make sure a few things, that you are in a well ventilated area, and then you also want to wear gloves. Now I'm not using gloves, but I highly recommend that you do. So if you guys don't, that's on your own. And then once again, definitely make sure you are in a well ventilated area. So we've got our Armor Etch. You want to use either your Cricut, your Silhouette. Cricut Joy would be perfect for this. What you're going to do is you're going to cut out your design, but when we go to weed this, so we have this here, which is bridesmaid. This would be a perfect gift for your bridesmaids, or you could do bride, Mr., Miss, lots of different things you can etch into these for a great gift or an item to sell. So we are going to weed the opposite. So we're actually going to create a stencil. So you can use whatever you want to. You can use stencil vinyl if you wanted to. Today I'm using a permanent. This is actually Avery. You could use removable. Feel free to use whatever you would like I said, along the lines when it comes to adhesive vinyl. You can actually even use some transfer tape. Just throw some of this down, cut it out, and then use this as well. So I've got transfer tape to transfer this to the mug. And then I've got a weeding tool as well as my squeegee to kind of help smooth everything out, because we are working with a round surface. It does get tricky sometimes. So one of the first things we want to do too is make sure that your your wine glass is clean. So you're going to make sure your surface is nice and clean here. Now the file I'm using today is only 1+ credit if you guys are a Plus member, and I have it linked down below for you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our weeding here. I used my Cricut Maker 3 to cut this out today, but once again, feel free to use whatever die cutting machine you have. So I'm gonna go ahead and just, like I said, I'm gonna go through here with my little weeding tool here and weed out the pieces we normally would keep. So I wanna be super careful. See how that piece is trying to come up with me? I just wanna lay that piece right back down. So nice and gently, I'm making sure I'm keeping that where it needs to be. And then we're going to go ahead and keep on going. All right, slow down, back this piece up really quick. Now, for me, what I like to do with projects like this is I try to use colors that I don't use. Say, for example, I got them in a mystery box, and I know that I'm not going to use it for anything. You know those colors that you get sometimes, or maybe it's a brand that you're not so much of a fan of? This is a great opportunity to get rid of it. This is a perfect, because you're not keeping it for the looks. You're using it, once again, as a stencil material. So perfect opportunity to get rid of those colors that you don't use as much, especially to get rid of maybe some old adhesive that you've had on hand for a little bit. Once again, you know those mystery boxes, we all love them, but sometimes we end up with multiple colors over and over again, or maybe, like I said, a color that you're not that big of a fan of, or you're not going to use, or once again, maybe like a brand. Sometimes, you have your scrap pieces. This is perfect because it's such a small project. This is perfect for those scrap pieces as well. So your color really does not matter. Now I do try to use a color. So for example, I try to steer away from white just because so I can see my my etching cream, if that makes sense. So I've got one little piece that's wanting to be silly here, which I can really adjust on my cup as well, but I want to make sure that's going to go back where I need it to be. So I'm going to try one more time to adjust that little guy. Sometimes whenever you play with them too much, they start to lose that stick, so I don't want to do that. And there we go. And it's almost at this point kind of like static cling. You know how that works out. All right, so you want this. This is your stencil, right? Now, whenever you load this on your Cricut mat to cut it out inside of Cricut Design Space, scoot your file over just a little bit from the corner of your mat in your material. That way you can give yourself a little bit of an edge. You definitely want to leave at least, around a quarter to pretty much almost a half of an inch all of the way around, because if you get too close, you could cause bleeding of your etch to get off on your cup, and you definitely don't want to, because I feel like this is just a little bit too close. This is probably about 1/4 of an inch, and this is a little bit too close. Now I don't want it too big and bulky on my cup here, and I did forget one piece here I'm going to come back for. But you definitely want to leave yourself a little bit of gap whenever you are working with these stencils. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pick this guy up with our transfer tape. Now, if you had a design where you didn't have to pick up little bitty pieces, feel free to pick it up and get it laid down on your cup. You can always skip the transfer tape. I think for a lot of newbies, I know for me, way back in the beginning too, you think that you have to use it every time, and you don't. As long as you don't have a bunch of teensy tiny pieces, you don't have to. Sometimes some of our designs are welded together where you don't have all that. All right, so we are going to get this picked up here. So I'm just making sure to go over everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this now. So I'm just getting it to stick to my transfer, and I am using the Caesar transfer tape today, in case you guys are wondering. All the supplies that I'm using are linked down below. Now, what I love about this is another great Dollar Tree hack. So if you guys are a fan of those Dollar Tree hacks, this one is absolutely perfect. It's a $1 project, which, I mean, you do have to purchase your armor etch, and I believe this guy was less than $10. Not too bad. All right, so we're going to figure out where we want this to be. Now, I don't think I mentioned the t-shirt here. You can use a hand towel, a towel. It doesn't have to be, it could be the oldest hand towel you have, and it could be the newest. The point of this is to kind of help us stabilize our cup. I usually show you guys with the coffee cups and things like that to use it with our little squeegees like this with the center. But with these wine glasses, it's really just not going to stick, okay? So really, just getting it on a towel or a t-shirt like this is perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down like a taco. I'm going to figure out where I want it to go, somewhere around like this. And then I'm going to work my way around. So I'm going to get my center down first. And nice and slowly, because I don't want anything to buckle on me. I'm going to just slowly work my way. Whenever it comes to these round surfaces, you really want to slow down, especially with something like this with a stencil. So you have such a big piece. It's not like we're just laying down those little bitty pieces. So we're going to go ahead and just smooth this guy out like so, and I may have to adjust some things after the fact. So I'm going to go like this and just continue to work my way around. Now, something called the wet method, if you guys want to see that, I'll definitely do a video on that. Really works great for things like this on round surfaces. It really kind of helps get everything down. All right, so I'm going to very carefully try to lay all these pieces. Now, once again, I'm going to have to come backwards and smooth stuff too. So I'm not going to get it down too crazy. Basically, what I want to do now is to be able to release my transfer. So it looks a little hot mess, but just bear with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get down what I can see that's kind of smooth here. All right. Just like that. Just kind of make sure those pieces are down. So I'm going to work my way from this side to the next. So I'm going to go ahead and get an angle here and peel. So like I said, whenever you get to these round surfaces, they're a little bit tricky. So you just want to slow down and don't get too crazy with pushing everything down, because you can come back and smooth anything out that you need to. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just lay that guy down. I've got a little bitty guy that I'm trying to be careful with not to lift up when I take this off as well. I may have to come back for him. Okay, and there we go. All right, get this out of our way. So I've got this little guy that came out, and I'm just going to roll with it. All right, so now what I can do is I'm actually going to very carefully adjust what pieces I need to adjust. So, for example, this one right here, I need to come back and adjust just a little bit like so. And it doesn't matter if these pieces here, like in the corner, if this looks wonky, that's okay. We just want to make sure the shape of our word is here where we can see it. Okay, so you just want to make sure that there's no gaps like underneath. You see how that's smooth? This may be a little folded over, but it's fine. We can see our word. Do you see what I'm saying? That is completely down flat. Okay, so that's down super smooth. Nothing's going to go underneath these areas. So I'm just going back and double checking these things and making sure that they look good. I could go ahead and take a little squeegee guy here and rub down any of those little bubbles that I can. All right, so what you're looking for, you're not looking for this piece to be perfect. Like I said, you're looking for these pieces here to be flat. You guys can see that there. I've lost this little piece, so y'all bear with me. I'm just gonna roll with it. Everything else looks great. So let's go ahead and start to apply our Armor Etch. So if you don't wanna get this on the t-shirt this time, you wanna go ahead and get this out of the way, and then we can work with our Armor Etch. So we're gonna go ahead and set this down like so. Open up that Armor Etch here. And I'm going to kind of stir this up just a little bit. Once again, be careful. You don't want to get this on your skin. And a little bit goes a long way. And so what we're going to be doing is I got it like this, and we're just going to dab it on. So you're not like painting this on, you're just dabbing it. Just like so. And this only takes a few minutes. Once again, well-ventilated area. I've done this to Pyrex dishes. Lots of different things. This is a perfect way to gift something to somebody. You could put, say for example, you could put their last name on here, their name. On the Pyrex dishes, I've done that, like the Thomas family and stuff like that with those wreaths that we have. Lots of different things that you guys can do with those. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm piling this on because I will put this back in the jar in a little bit. So I'm not wasting all of this. So I'm just kind of patting this down all over. Once again, I'm trying to stay on top of my stencil. I'm not getting on the outside of this stencil here. And so we are just going to pat this down. And what I love to show you is it doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to make sure, like I said, that your words, you need to slow down. Don't get too crazy about forcing it down with that transfer tape on. It's about after the fact, you know, with just making sure that your words are all the way down smooth. Not technically, you see all them bubbles and jumbles, like I said. Now what you can do is set this out of the way, and you're gonna let it set for a few minutes. So we'll let it set for, I do believe, let me look at my instructions one more time. I do believe, I think it was underneath here, wait 1 to 3 minutes. Okay, so you're gonna wait 1 to 3 minutes. But once I wait 1 to 3 minutes, what I like to do is move it around, and I'll let it set for like another 2 minutes. So usually around 5 minutes total is what I'll do. If you want to just keep working with it for a deeper etch, just keep moving this stuff around, let it set for another 2 minutes. I wouldn't really go over 10 minutes. I would just do, like I said, 5 to 10 minutes, moving in between every few minutes, which I'm going to show you guys in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and set this down for just a few minutes, and we'll be right back to scoot it around. All right, so it's been about 2 minutes. So what I'm going to do is take our little stick here, and I'm just moving everything around. So I'm just kind of pouncing it everywhere that I know, because I'm basically getting fresh. I'm moving the glass that's already etched and getting a fresh new area. So I'm trying not to push underneath. I'm basically kind of doing like a pouncing motion. This is also in case you missed a little spot, it's going to go back and fix those as well. So I'm just pouncing everything. All right, once again, I'm gonna let this set for around another 2 to 3 minutes. All right, so it has been a couple more minutes. So what I'm gonna do now is get ready to start scraping this back in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this guy off, remove any of this extra in here. And all you're simply going to do is just start scraping it like this. And once again, put it back in the container. Years ago when I first started using this, I thought that it was trash, but it's not. You can actually put it back in there. That's why I said this little jar will last you forever, because you're gonna continue to reuse this over and over again. So I am going to just continue to scrape all of this off, just like so. All right, and we are almost there. And then what I'm actually going to do is I will take like a paper towel. Once we get to those last little nitty-gritty pieces, take a paper towel, baby wipe something to remove any of this excess. And then what you want to do is take it over to your sink and wash it with soap and water. Just be super careful. I always let everything rinse off before I even touch it. With my hands, I'll actually just use a, all right, so my camera went out on us, so I had to switch batteries. So I couldn't remember exactly what I was saying, but basically we're scraping all of this off that we can. and then I'm going to wipe off any remaining, and then whenever I will definitely try to clean all of this off. I'll rinse it under the sink before I ever even touch my hands with it. I make sure nothing is left on here before I ever touch my hands, and then I'll actually use, a lot of times I'll use a paper towel because I can throw it away. I'll get paper towel wet, a couple of them, and I'll add soap to it and then wipe it. I usually do that instead of using my dish towels or anything like that. Just a little recommendation. So this little guy I just toss in the trash. We're going to close this up. And what I'm going to do is I've got some baby wipes. Now I'm going to make sure that none of this gets on my hands. This is where I highly recommend you guys use gloves for this. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. And then I'm going to continue. I'm trying to make sure none of this gets on my glass. If it is, I'm trying to wipe it away pretty quickly. All right, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start to remove this. Now, I would actually take this over to the sink and really wash it before I even touch this. I usually pull this off in the sink, but because I'm in the studio, so I don't recommend this. I recommend that you have completely washed all of this off with the soap, like I said, and then you are pulling this off underneath your running water. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and peel all of this off. I can actually very carefully take, I'm actually going to take another baby wipe because I want to make sure none of this etching cream is all over my cup here. This will help me continue to wipe the rest of this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and continue to wipe this really good with that baby wipe, and then I can really start to like pull these pieces as well. So I can come in with my weeding tool like this and pull off these pieces. Now, once again, if you're doing this the correct way under running water, it comes off super easy. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this down one more time. Then I'm using a paper towel to kind of buff it out to remove any excess. Now, once again, you wouldn't have any of that stuff because you would have washed it under the sink with running soapy water. And there you guys have it. How super adorable is this? Super duper easy, such a great etch, less than 5 minutes. I think I went 4 to 5 minutes on this, and it looks gorgeous. Once again, you could do this bridesmaids. We have ones that say bride, and you have the ones with groom. You could do Mr. Miss. Such a great gift. It's going to cost you guys $1, and you guys could make all of these. You could make a ton of these at the exact same time and have these in 5 minutes. So such a super, super fast, easy gift as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like button down below and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.